A little backstory. My 26 male little brother is almost 10 years younger than me, nearly adult. He wasn't expected, though my parents weren't all that old when they had him, and because of that, I hadn't been the best big brother to him growing up. I sort of resented him for taking the attention away. Even so, he never returned the resentment. He's always incredibly sweet to everyone, including me. Eventually, I mellowed out, and just before my undergrad graduation, I talked to him and apologized. Our relationship has been on much better terms since then. Last week, my brother called me crying, saying that he had been outed at school. Our parents blew up and kicked him out. I was livid. I made an online reservation for a motel under his name, ordered him an Uber, and told him to stay there until I could pick him up. I drove back home right after work, and it was a 10-hour drive. When I got there at 3 in the morning, the first thing I did was bang on my parents' door and ripped on them. I called them the nastiest names and threatened legal action on them. I yelled at them so loudly for so long that a neighbor told me he would call the cops on me, at which point I just went back to my car and drove away to pick my brother up. For now, my brother is staying with me. His school offers the option for students to do full online courses due to the global issue, and he's doing that until the exam. I don't mind taking care of him until he graduates, or even beyond if he decides to attend a nearby college. I've been talking to a lawyer, and since my brother is 17, the age of majority for our country, I can't be accused of taking him away from them. The problem is, I've been receiving emails from my parents telling me that I've blown things out of proportion and that I've humiliated them and destroyed their reputation. Apparently, their plan was to pretend to kick my brother out for a few hours to teach him a lesson or something. They told me that their neighbors now spread rumors about them being abusive and they might lose their jobs over it. Both of them are only a couple of years away from retirement, and I don't have any right to defend my brother because I hated him for years. The last one made me question myself. They disgust me, and a petty part of me believes that they deserve to be hated for what they did, but another part of me feels bad for making them potentially lose their jobs and pension, especially since if this happened a few years ago, I would have agreed with them over my brother. Am I the idiot? What kind of lesson was your brother supposed to learn, being kicked out for a few hours after being outed? The mental gymnastics. It wasn't even a few hours. You made a 10-hour drive and bro was still kicked out. Not the idiot. They're being perceived as awful parents because they are. Funny how things work out like that. Unlike your parents, you've grown as a person since then, and your actions toward your brother now are proof that change wasn't just lip service. You're being a good brother now, and that's what matters. Didn't you know being gay is a choice? And so a few hours of crying on the street, worrying he was about to be mugged or assaulted at any moment, and thinking his life was ruined, would absolutely make little brother decide that lady bits are A-okay with him. It's the quickest and cheapest way to set your kid straight, quite literally. Pretending to kick him out is a form of mistreatment too. Not the idiot. Their neighbors are right. Kicking a child out over being queer to teach him a lesson is awful, even if it was for only a few hours. He had no way of knowing that. There's a reason why a third of homeless youth are queer. I also want you to consider that they may well be lying about letting him back in a few hours and are making something up now to save their jobs and their butts. As for them losing their jobs and reputation, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Your actions didn't lead to that. Theirs did. Some important background. Mother-in-law was raised in a toxic family. She was the scapegoat because she was the only child who wasn't white passing, and she had dyslexia, which her dad didn't believe was a thing. She went no contact at 18, and her parents weren't at her wedding. When mother-in-law's dad died, her mom reached out and wanted to reconnect. They are taking it very slowly. My fiance's family has a beautiful heirloom necklace for the oldest girl on her wedding day. It is diamond and sapphire and stunningly beautiful. My fiance's grandmother offered it to me in light of our upcoming wedding, and I happily accepted. Mother-in-law was the only daughter, and it should have gone to her, but she was estranged at the time. Mother-in-law is also engaged and will be getting married shortly after me. When she found out her mom gave me her necklace, she became very upset. She said that we were skipping over her. I felt bad, but I also felt like she's a 43-year-old woman and I'm just starting out. Mother-in-law's mom said she didn't know mother-in-law felt strongly about it and offered to give her something in its place, but she didn't want that. Following the family dinner, grandmother-in-law reached out and asked for the necklace back. Mother-in-law apparently told her that she would never forgive her if she didn't get it for her. I understand the hurt, but mother-in-law can't change the past, and mother-in-law has plenty of nice jewelry. Her fiancé has gotten her a couple of beautiful pieces. Mother-in-law begged for it back and said she couldn't lose her daughter again. I said I felt horrible, but it's mine now, and it means a lot to me. Mother-in-law then returned while I was at work and threatened to falsely accuse us of stealing it. My fiancé was nervous and gave in and gave it to her. I was furious and called her and told her she stole from me and you don't get to take a gift back. I also informed my mother-in-law that I will not be at her wedding because I don't feel like seeing her wearing it, and she showed zero respect. So I am considering uninviting mother-in-law from our wedding. My fiancé will stand by me, but other family thinks I'm being too harsh. You are the idiot. It's his family's heirloom. You want to join this family, and this wasn't the way to start it out. So the gracious thing to do was to give it to mother-in-law and just ask to wear it on your wedding day as a symbol of joining the family. You are the idiot, because the other part of this is that family heirlooms aren't the same as normal gifts. Morally speaking, people generally consider heirlooms as being held in trust for the next generation, or to belong to the family but lent to individuals until the next person eligible arrives in the family. Gifted or not, it isn't OP's personal necklace. It's the family's heritage to pass forward and always will be. You are the idiot. You're willing to contribute to a family's misery so you can keep a necklace? It can't mean a lot if the family whose history it's based on doesn't want you to have it. At that point, it's a meaningless necklace that's probably worth a lot, which makes you a gold digger and nothing more. OP, you sound like a spoiled brat. This necklace means nothing to you, except it's pretty and expensive. It means having a relationship with her daughter for the grandmother-in-law. I wonder if you even realize that you have alienated yourself from both the estranged family and the family that wasn't estranged with the decision to keep it. Just because you're starting out doesn't mean anyone owes you anything. Make your own money and buy your own jewelry. My brother Nick, nearly adult, and I lost our remaining parent in May. My husband Eric insisted we take Nick in, saying that Nick is his favorite brother-in-law. They spend time together doing activities and working on cars at the shop. The problem is that Eric would often come into Nick's room and take stuff like shampoo, charger, drawing tools, lap box, Xbox. Some stuff is so personal, like shaving tools and clean socks, when Eric is in desperate need of them. He does it often, especially when Nick isn't home. First, Nick spoke to him, but was brushed off, but then complained to me about Eric's constant barging in and taking stuff without asking. Finally, when I talked to Eric, he said, "What? Get out of here. Why should I even ask for permission? We're like bros." He agreed to ask before taking stuff, but then he'd say he forgot every single time. It becomes unbearable. I told Eric I was considering getting Nick a lock, but he thought I wasn't serious. Last week, Nick complained about Eric taking something personal without asking. He said he could no longer live like that and considered moving in with his friend. I felt terrible. I got Nick a lock for his door, and when Eric found out and got offended and stated that the lock was totally uncalled for, I said it was wrong to take stuff from Nick's room without asking. He replied that he loves Nick and treats him as his brother, so he saw no need for formality and to ask before taking stuff because he assumed Nick was okay with it. I said Nick has a hard time saying no, and privacy is important. He replied, "Privacy? How about some honesty? You should have brought this up with me." Then added that having lived with family, past friends, and roommates, he never got a lock for his door, and everyone was welcome to take whatever they needed. He thinks it's somewhat an aggressive way of telling others that they're unwanted. He started an argument over it and accused me of not wanting him to establish a bond with Nick, since giving and taking each other's stuff builds a strong bond. I corrected him, saying the reason I got Nick a lock is because of his behavior. He left and sent a text saying I just put a distance between him and Nick with my unreasonable demand for privacy. He typed it like this: PRIVACY, and wanted a solution for the problem I created by putting the lock on the door. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You did raise it with him first. He just didn't listen. And he might feel like giving and taking each other's stuff without asking creates some kind of closeness between people. Still, clearly Nick doesn't feel the same way. So if he's hoping to bond with your brother by taking his spare socks all the time, he's going to be pretty disappointed when Nick ends up wanting nothing to do with him. It's like he sees things only from his perspective and sees anyone else's divergent viewpoint as a rejection or a personal attack on him. Does your husband usually trample over other people's concerns or boundaries in this way? Also, I'm sorry for the loss of your parent. You're a good sister for taking your brother in like that. I'm actually a little bit disturbed by your husband's actions. First, he insisted you take Nick in. Now he's there. He's bulldozing all Nick's boundaries and constantly invading his privacy. He's been told not to, but he keeps doing it anyway and insists he can't be properly close with him unless he's basically allowed free reign of your brother's personal space and things at all times. And when there's finally actually something that stops him from doing this, he mocks and belittles you for protecting your brother and then escalates it so far that he actually leaves? Why? What is so important about having 24 access to your brother's private space and personal belongings that he's willing to do all of that to keep it? Yeah, this guy's peculiar. Ordinary people don't go through people's rooms. My own brother and I rarely step foot in each other's bedrooms. If we need something, we ask, and the other person gets it for us. I'm curious how husband would react if Nick kept wandering into his room and stealing his stuff. Honestly, this behavior reads like some stupid dominance thing to me. I, 27 female, and my partner, 29 male, recently bought our first home. This was huge for us. House prices have been skyrocketing over the last few years. Even with the $70K that I inherited from my grandparents, both of us working full-time, and a loan from my partner's parents of $20K, we only just managed to scrape through and get the place we wanted. It's a 2 bedrooms plus a small office where my partner will work from home. I'm a builder, he's a lawyer. My sister, 29, is unemployed and has no education beyond college. In addition, she has 5 kids and has recently found out she is pregnant with her 6th. Her partner is being let out of prison soon, but will be on home detention. Her current landlords don't want him living in their house. He has historically been destructive of their property, so they've asked my sister to leave. She has until February of next year to find a new place, as that's when their fixed term is up. My sister approached me and asked me to move into our place. If they didn't find somewhere in time, I said they could stay with us temporarily, but there wasn't enough room to stay for more than a couple of weeks, and 7 months was more than enough time to find a place. So she basically said that there was plenty of room. Partner and I could move into the office, less than 10 square meters in size. She and her partner would take our bedroom, along with her other kids who share the second bedroom. I said absolutely not. If she was desperate, I'd help her, but I wasn't going to give up the majority of our house that we'd worked our butts off for. She retaliated that I didn't have kids, so I didn't know how hard life was, and I pointed out that when our grandparents passed away, she got the same $70K that I did, as well as $15K for each of her children that she had at that time. So why hadn't she got a job and used that $130K as a deposit on a house for her children? She told me to screw off and that what she spent her money on was none of my business. Basically, it's been over 2 weeks now, and everyone in my family is hassling me to let her move into our house. My partner is completely against it due to the noise of 5 kids and a baby disturbing his work. My sister's partner was awful to him years ago before he went to prison. I don't want to bend, but at the same time, my entire family is treating me like I'm a huge idiot. Not the idiot. And OMG, do not let her in the door. She will ruin your life as she has ruined her own. How can your husband work from home if he has no office and there are little kids running everywhere? If you let her in your house, even in an emergency, it's going to be a gigantic mess that will be incredibly hard to untangle. How would you get them out if they refuse to leave? Absolutely no. State it once, twice, endlessly. Don't engage in reasoning or discussion. Just say over and over again the exact same message. The answer is no. This. Also, OP, your whole family is getting down on you because you let your sister set the narrative. Contact everyone at once with an email explaining why you aren't going to let her and her criminal husband, who won't be able to leave your house once he's there, and her 6 children under 10 years old into your home and workplace. Then when each of them contacts you individually to harass, you respond with this. Oh good, I'm so glad you're this concerned for her. I'll tell her she can live with you. Not the idiot. Your sister received a huge windfall from your grandparents, significantly more than you did. So where did all the money go? Is it your fault that she spent her entire inheritance already? Is it your fault that she chose to have a bunch of kids with someone who wound up in prison? No, it's not. She made all of those choices. They were bad and short-sighted choices, and it is not your responsibility to bail her out now. I-47 male took my daughter, teen, to urgent care for a double ear infection yesterday. They took her weight, and she was about 15 to 20 pounds overweight for her height and age. I was shocked by this and asked her if she exercises at my ex-wife's house. She said since she takes violin lessons 4 times per week and tutors the other 2 days, she gets home at 5:30 to 6 o'clock every night, has dinner, then takes a shower and does homework, so exercising is difficult. She says she walks the dog for 45 minutes every morning and evening. I told her that we will take a walk every night while she's at my house and that her current weight needs to come down. I told her I didn't want to make her feel awkward about it and she could talk to me. She nodded and just turned away. Today I went to the store and bought Weight Watchers frozen stir-fry bowls and told her she could have one of those if she was going to eat dinner tonight. She looked at them and asked me, "Are 180 calories enough for dinner?" I replied yes, and said if she was still hungry she could have yogurt. She then went to her room and hasn't spoken to me since. My ex-wife texted me and said my daughter called her crying, and she called me harsh and an idiot for what I did. Am I the idiot for trying to get her to be healthy? Edit. I propose she does a sport. She says that she doesn't have time because of orchestra. I told her maybe orchestra was something she could come back to after doing a sport. She didn't say anything, only stared at me, then went on her phone and started typing something very angrily. I do not know what to do. You are the idiot. Wow. Holy smokes, dude. Young girls are often a little overweight where hormones and growth spurts level out. So she is active. She is focused on her studies and learning a musical instrument, and you're laser focused on the one aspect of her overall behavior. And you chose to address this unilaterally and while she's sick? Also, 180 calories are not enough for dinner for a growing child. You are the idiot. She's still growing. She also has a full schedule and already walks for an hour and a half every day. This is how children develop deep-set insecurities and eating disorders. Also, if she's going to eat dinner, Freudian slip perhaps, skipping meals is not going to help her. How are you not the idiot? You are the idiot entirely. Apologize to your daughter and let her know you want her to be healthy. She can tell you if she has too many responsibilities or things going on to manage her health. Oh, and your first trick was to blame your ex-wife. Men like this are the worst. Update. My daughter's mother came to the house and said that my daughter requested to be picked up. Ex told me that the things I said to my daughter are unacceptable and asked to see dinners I bought. I showed her and she started yelling, asking if I really thought that was appropriate to feed a young teen. She told me that her daughter wanted to stay at her house tonight. I told her that would not be happening. My daughter stood there and watched us argue while in tears. Finally, she ran to her mother's side, and ex-wife said I would give her an eating disorder. Finally gave in and let her go.